Hey, this video is going to cover a basic open AC system refill. Covers most of the basics on a fill where nearly everything went properly. That means it really doesn't contain enough information for you to do this on your own without some more investigation on your part, but it is something you can use as a general idea of how long it takes to fill, what the gauges are going to look like while you're doing it, and that kind of thing. This is being done on a 98 Land Rover Discovery that had a seal failure. It was otherwise working fine, so we don't have anything else to deal with. It came with R134A from the factory. We're going to convert it over to R152A. It's not really the point of this video, and whatever refrigerant you use, it's going to be basically the same charge procedure. It's just going to be a different charge weight. We're going to start with the leak detection and the repair. This is why you put dye in the system. There's a leak right along where the big and small line, that's the high pressure and low pressure line, meet the firewall back here. That's right where it goes to the evaporator core. Can't really see it now. I'm going to turn off the lights and put the flashlight on there. Okay, lights off and UV flashlight. Green fluorescence. Real obvious. Okay, both bolts are out. This should pull right away. Yep, there we go. I did bleed this pressure, but since it's hot out, I've got a little bit more residual pressure in there just from the heat. You can see now I've got dye all over my hands. That's okay. I'm going to pull both of these out, and then I'll show you the seals that need to get replaced. Okay, these are the seals that need to be changed, or at least this one. You can see the black ring around there. This one has the same. I'm going to use a pick to take those off, to get them slid off of there, and then we're going to match them up with something else and replace them. Alright, well that didn't go nearly as well as I would have liked it to. I got the one seal off of the low pressure line. The high pressure line seal, when I put the pick in to pull it off, broke and ended up on the ground somewhere. So it's going to be a little more difficult to match up the right size, but that's not a surprise that that one was dried out. I'm pretty sure that's the side it was leaking on, but obviously we're going to replace both of them anyway. Easiest way to do this is get a little kit like this. They're fairly cheap. Then you want to match up both the diameter and the thickness, and I'll sort that out. We're going to put a little bit of PAG oil, or whatever oil that you're using, onto the seal, put it back on, test fit it, and tighten it back up again. I'm going to get all that stuff done, and then we'll be ready to draw vacuum. Alright, so this is a manifold gauge set for multiple types of refrigerant, and it's got, I believe they're 404 fittings on it. So I've got the R134A adapters on the high and low pressure lines at this point, and you're going to look for your high and low pressure fittings. And on this one, high is down here and low is back up where we had replaced those two seals. Now I think the seal that I put in there is going to be correct, but I'm not positive. I may need the next thickness up. So we're going to back this down and just push them on like that. That's the low side. High side snaps in, and you can see we got nothing on the gauges, obviously, because the system was just opened. And now I'm going to go get the vacuum pump, get that hooked up. Alright, so I've got the yellow service line with an adapter hooked up to the vacuum pump now. And valves are still closed on the manifold gauge. Before you get your vacuum pump going, make sure it has enough oil in it. They usually have a window over here. They got to run for a long time, so don't screw it up. Alright, we're going to turn this on. Sounds about right. And now we're going to go back up to our line set. And I'm going to open up the low side here. And you can hear the vacuum pump starting to draw. I'm going to open that up all the way. And same thing on the high side. Sorry for the shaky cam. And the truck. Alright, so now we're pulling a vacuum here. And this is pulling a nice solid vacuum. We're down to, what's that, about 28 inches, something like that. And we're going to leave it there. There we go, it's pulling down further. Now it's down to 30. There's not going to be a lot of water in this system. Let's just check. I don't see anything here. You'll see a little bit of steam coming out of here sometimes, or like a mist if there's a lot of water in the system and it's humid enough out. I don't think we're going to see any of that on this one because, as you saw earlier, there was still a little bit of residual refrigerant, even enough that when it heated up after I had recovered it yesterday, it was enough left in there to spit at us a little bit. So, you know, the system basically wasn't open. But on something that's been open for a long time, you're probably going to see a whole lot of steam coming out, and you're also probably not going to get to a 30-inch vacuum too quickly. And half an hour later, we're back. We're down just a bit below 30, and that's good. We like that, but still got to try, see if it holds. So we're going to close the high side and low side valves with the vacuum pump still on, and shut down the vacuum pump. And we're going to give it 10 minutes. Alright, been 10 minutes. We're still holding. So that's good. Next step up, we're going to disconnect this. We're going to replace the receiver dryer and vac the system down again just the same way we did before. Then we'll be ready for a fill. Alright, so here's how you're going to hook up refrigerant to your line set. Normally what you're going to do for 134 is you're going to need a can tap like this, 134 can tap, and you're going to want to attach this to the yellow service line first. You need to make sure it's open all the way, because when they're closed, it has a pin that we should be able to see here that comes down, and that pin punctures the R134A can. This is an empty one. And you can see on the new ones that is a solid seal. So if you were to screw this on the can like that, you're going to get refrigerant everywhere. So you open this up all the way, screw it onto the can, make sure this is hooked up to your service line, and then close it all the way. That'll puncture the seal, open it back up all the way. Easy enough. We're going a different way on this fill. We're going to use R152A, which is easily found in computer duster cans. And for that, you need to use a can tap for R12. R12 cans typically don't have this threading on the top, it's just solid, so you actually pierce the side of the can with one of these, and you extract out of here. Now, this one has Schrader valves in it, so unless something's screwed into one of these, it's not going to leak out. You still really want to have it hooked up to your service line, just in case. And with this one, if it was a full-size can like this, take that off and crank that down when everything's hooked up. For computer duster cans, we need this since they're smaller diameter, and we'll be piercing them like that once it's hooked up to the service line. Now, next step is, if it was 134A, I would look it up in the book and find that on this piece of Rover needs 900 grams, since it doesn't have rear air conditioning. And that's what we do for a fill. With 134A, it's got a different molecular weight. So here you go, nerds. 134A, it's about 102 grams per mole. 152A is about 66 grams per mole. So if we need 900 grams, solve for X. And that gives us about 20.5 ounces, 582 grams. These are 7 ounces apiece. That means we need about 3 cans. So 3 cans is going to be close enough. I wouldn't normally need to weigh this out, but I'm going to weigh it out anyway, just to show you how you would do that if you needed, you know, a partial can of 134 R12. Now, I don't need to add any oil to this system, but if I did, this would be the time. It's been vac down, it's holding the vac, and we can get away with probably getting as much in as we need with a syringe like this. This fits right onto your service line. Alright, so in any case, you put as much as you need in there with the cap still on it, upside down obviously, and then put the plunger back in and squeeze as much air as you can out, and then you're going to hook it back up to the service line. Alright, so now it's back on the service line, and since we're under a vacuum, I can open up the low side or the high side, doesn't really matter, and it's going to draw down from the vacuum. Done. Shut it down. If you need more than that, you probably have a few shots at doing this. If you run out of vacuum before you get enough oil or dye or whatever else in there, you can take off your yellow service line from the top, and that side of it doesn't have any kind of valve in it, so you can actually fill this line up with oil as much as you need, or several times, and then as you're charging, which we'll get to next, the oil's just going to go in along with the refrigerant. Okay, we're hooked up to the service line with the R12 style can tap, and we've got our refrigerant here, and we're just going to take it and squeeze. Uh-oh. Don't do that one-handed, it doesn't work. Here we go. We're all set. We're going to want to set this so that where it's being tapped from is up high, at the highest point, or close, because we don't want to slug the compressor. We want to charge this with only gas coming out of there, and we're ready. Valves are closed, and it's time to start this and turn the air on, and we'll begin the charge. Okay, the truck is started, and I've got a temperature probe in the vent, so we know what's going on. We got 89 degrees right now coming out. Windows are up. I'm going to close it up. We're still hooked up here, and it is time to charge from the low side. Open that a bit. See how we're doing here. It's going to take a bit to actually get some pressure in this system. I'm going to let it go a little bit longer. Hopefully I still have some in this can. I do. It hasn't been leaking out on me. I'm going to let this keep going until we get enough to trip the low pressure switch, which hopefully will happen by itself. When it does and the compressor comes on, it's going to start dragging refrigerant in a lot quicker. Shaking the can just a little bit, that gets things moving. The can's getting real cold because it has put a decent amount of refrigerant in the system and it's doing what it's supposed to. We should be somewhere close to compressor coming on, providing I remember to actually turn the AC on. I think I did. And providing this compressor wants to cooperate. Still shaking the can a bit. There we go. That was a change. And the compressor is on. See, we're making pressure on the other side. We're up to 60. But we're down at 10 on this side. I don't know why the low pressure switch isn't cutting it back out yet, but that's fine. We're going to let this go. Now we're going to start seeing these pressures as we get more refrigerant in there. They're going to start coming up on the high side, the right-hand side here. We're at 75 now. We're still down at 5 on the other side. I'm going to slow this down a bit because it's real humid out. And if I keep doing this and running it down this low, and you can see on the temps here on the R134, we're well below 0 on the blue dial part. That's going to freeze the evaporator inside. It's just going to make things miserable. So I'm actually going to shut this down, let it sit for a bit, and let's go check the temp, see if we're making any cold air. No, not yet. Still 91 in there. Doing all right at 75 PSI on the high side. We're going to open this back up. I'm going to shake the can a bit. to get this moving along. Can's, you can see it's doing its job as a refrigerant. We got all kinds of stuff on the can. It's all frosted up. It's tough to tell if it's empty or not when you're hooked up to these lines and everything. It feels like there's still something in it, so we're going to let it go. Just below 10 psi on the low side. We're above 75 now. Yeah, that definitely looks like there's still some in the can. Otherwise, we wouldn't be gaining pressure on the high side. So we're going to let this continue to fill this way. It's not the quickest process ever. It's definitely not as quick as having one of the big machines where you can fill it on the low side as a liquid with everything off, or the high side rather, as a liquid. So I'm still shaking the can here as we go along. You can see we continue to gain on the high side. Until we get probably close to 150, we're not really going to see any kind of significant cooling, if any at all, especially with the heat load that's in this gigantic pile. So we may not see much of anything for a bit. Let's check again on the count. That went from 91 to 89. That is slight progress here. And we are at about 5 psi low and probably 80, 90 on the high side. So we're definitely getting somewhere. This can is not releasing refrigerant as quickly anymore. We're getting down to the end and you can tell because it's starting to sweat. Some of the ice is coming off of it. Don't know that we have much anything left in here. I'm going to keep checking to see if I'm gaining any kind of pressure. Yeah, when I shook it, we're going up on the low side. There's still some refrigerant in here, so don't give up on it yet. Use it all up. Still going, and now that I'm shaking the can, it's getting a whole lot colder. You can see, well, how humid it is out because we've got a whole lot of condensation on here that's frozen on it. So we're just going to keep on going with this can. We're doing okay. We got it above 10 on the low side. We're up to about 100 on the high side. Don't think we've frozen the evaporator or anything quite yet, but we're probably close. Let's go check. There you go, we're gaining on it. We got 86 now. Now I'm back to shaking the can. You can see we're getting above 10 or so. On the low side, we're up to about 100 on the high side. Basically, when this can stops getting cold and starts melting entirely, all the frost on it, even after I stop, even when I'm still shaking it rather, then we can be pretty sure that it's empty. So I'm going to keep going with that. Considering I need 3 cans, I bought 4 and already ruined one. I need every last drop out of here. Alright, at this point I'm just going to let the can sit because I'm tired of shaking it, and it's going to come out when it's going to come out. I'm just going to let it go for a while. I'm going to turn the video off. We're at about 8 minutes into this charge. I will let you know how long it's been off so you know what to expect. Alright, it's been another minute. This can is now warm. Whether I shake it or not, I'm getting no differences on pressures or any of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is close off my low side, which is the only one that was open. Double check your high, make sure. And now it's time to disconnect this. put another can on. Well, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to hook it back up to the service line. I'm going to put another can on. Well, maybe I'll do it slightly different. Hold on. We're going to hook this other can up, and I'm going to show you how to weigh these things out. Right, so since this is a valve unit, this can tap, I can tap the can without having it hooked up to the service line. It's not going to come out unless you push on one of the Schraders on either side. So what I've done is I've tapped it, I put it on the scale, just a basic kitchen scale, and we're going to tear the scale right where it's at with this whole rig on it. So basically what's going to happen is if you need to check how much you've put in so far, you disconnect from the service line, put this thing back on here, and it's going to tell you, you know, negative however many ounces you've taken out so far. If you were to do this with 134, same deal. You're just going to shut down your can with the 134 can tap, take it off the service line, put it on the scale. Same concept. All right, new can hooked back up to the service line. Everything is off up here. We're at just below 20 and, I don't know, whatever on the high side, 120. We're going to open up the low again. And you see with a nice fresh can that's not cold, comes out pretty quick. I'm going to gate that down some so we don't get the can too cold too fast. And I keep it somewhere around the bug that's in my gauge. Apparently 30, 35, somewhere like that. And we're going to see now, since we're really moving some refrigerant, you're going to see the high side coming up pretty decent. But we're just going to keep this gated down. Seems like the slow way, but it's a lot faster than waiting for the evaporator to fall out. So we're almost up to 150 on the high side. That's when we start getting some real cooling going on. Can's getting cold. Gate it down again for a little bit. Let's go check our temperatures inside. That's starting to look like air conditioning. Okay, so we're just going to keep doing more of the same out here. I'll let you know how long I've been off. But I'm just going to keep shaking the can, gating it, making sure that, you know, shaking it when I need to. Now if I open it up all the way, I'm not even getting over 30, so I'll start shaking the can a bit. And keep going until that can's empty. It's been another 5 minutes. We're at 40 and about 175 on the high side. It feels like there's half a can left in this one. It is just not going in fast, which is pretty typical with TXV systems. They just don't seem to take refrigerant as fast this way. And you also don't get to see the dramatic short cycling at any point in the process like you would with a capillary tube system with an accumulator. But we know we're making progress here because pressures are going up. We got 59 degrees inside. And we're making condensate. So everything's going well. We're going to continue on with this can. All right, it's been another 4 minutes. And we're a little below 40 and almost up to 200 on the high side. We've kicked another can. And we are definitely cooling now. We're down 55 vent temp coming out. So, about that measuring. I know I took everything out of this can, but we're going to disconnect it. It's going to spit a little bit. There we go. And now we can check it on the scale. It didn't keep it 0, damn it. See, this is my fault. It's 11 3/4, 9 3/8 ounces. And I should have kept the scale on so it kept it 0. So what we would have been looking for if we had it zeroed properly, well, we'll re-zero it on another can. Alright, so here's the rig again, completely on there. Obviously it's not punctured yet, but this is a full can. We're going to zero it. Take off the full can, put on the empty can, and what do we have? Took out 6 7/8 of an ounce. Now, if you needed to figure out, you know, just another couple ounces, 4 ounces, whatever, out of a 12-ounce can. You could flow some, disconnect it, and then, you know, put it back on the scale, zeroed like this, to figure out how much you've taken out of the can until you make up your exact charge weight. Alright, third can's on there. We had closed our gauges before we disconnected, and it's time to open them back up again. Real slow, you can see it jumps up. I'm keeping it around 50 or so. Hopefully keep this can warm enough to flow reasonably well. We're pretty much past the point where I'm too concerned about freezing up the evaporator. We've taken a lot of humidity out of the inside and we're running pretty decent pressures already. So we're going to keep going on this. If the charts are correct, we're probably looking around maybe 250, 275, almost up to 300 on the high side, with about 45 on the low side for this. I don't know that this compressor is going to make it on the high side because it is cold and beat and, you know, just a piece of crap in general. But we'll keep charging, see how this goes. Third can is in. So we're at the calculated charge weight we should be at, and you see we're nowhere close to what it should be based on the charts pressure-wise. It's not much of a surprise. That's why you kind of need to figure out whether you should be going by charge weight or not go terribly over charge weight, or if you can go just by pressures. The reason why these pressures aren't so good is just a V-bolt compressor in this thing. So it is cooling well. Probably not as well as it could with the new compressor, but I'll tell you what, we're standing still, obviously, at idle, so the compressor's not even spinning that much. It's cycling just fine, or it's not even cycling. The TXB is keeping it running very well. And at 90 degrees outside, we got 44 inside. I got no problem with that. So that went alright. Now seriously, do what I say, not what I do. If you've never done this before and you don't know what to expect with putting the refrigerant, the connectors on and all that kind of thing, if you go too slow or you do it wrong, it's going to spit refrigerant at you. It hurts. You can get freezer burn from it. So really, put on some leather gloves. That's enough safety video. I know this was long. It was supposed to be, to give somebody who's never done it before an idea of exactly what you're up against. Just do your research. Be safe with what you got. Make sure you have the right tools and you're going to do fine. Keep the shiny side up.